Journalist Trevor Lundquist, his headphones mussing his brown hair, stared intently at Daisy Swanson as he asked his final interview question for his podcast, Hidden Spaces, on a Friday evening. How does it feel to have been instrumental in solving 9 murder investigations? His eyebrows quirked knowingly, as if he could imagine what she was going to answer. Daisy exchanged a look with her best friend, Tessa Miller, who was the kitchen manager for Daisy's tea garden, housed on the first floor of a refurbished Victorian house. Tessa was now acting as assistant for her boyfriend, Trevor, in his podcast venture. Tessa's spare room in her apartment above the tea garden had become his studio. As if Trevor wanted to nudge Daisy's hesitation, he leaned closer to the condenser microphone. Daisy? All of Trevor's previous questions had been mostly fact-based about the last murder case she'd fallen into. That question's not as easy to answer as it might seem, she said. How so? Trevor always expected answers and cut to the heart of whatever he wanted to know. I care about Willow Creek and my family, friends, and neighbors who live here. When I returned to Willow Creek with my 2 girls, Daisy smiled wryly at Trevor, who are now young women. I merely planned to run the tea garden with my Aunt Iris and make a new start after my husband died. But somehow life gave me all kinds of twists and turns. But we're talking about murder, Daisy. Murders don't crash down on everyone like they've hit you. Tessa, who was sitting beside Trevor, nudged his arm so hard that her caramel-colored braid swung over her shoulder. Daisy suspected Tessa thought Trevor was being overly dramatic for his podcast. Yes, we are talking about murders, Daisy said somberly. I would never have chosen to be involved. Would you say you're overly curious? He asked. Now she frowned at him. She had a long fuse, and she hadn't considered that Trevor could ruffle her. But he streamed his podcast for a reason. He was trying to find a new facet to his career. I don't believe I'm overly curious, but I want answers when loved ones or friends need help. She knew her blue eyes were drilling into him, as if telling him not to press too much harder. After all, she could end the interview. He seemed to get her message, and Tessa's. Trevor gave Daisy a mischievous smile as he asked, Do you think the fact that your fiancé is a former detective has helped you ask the right questions when you talk to persons of interest?